All right, here we are. This is part two of Susan and Joe. And of course, I'm Joe. Uh, and thanks for watching. I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible, but at the same time, everything that I've taken the oath of honesty. And I will be saying things off of what I want to do, young people and older people, and it's a privilege to be able to do this. And I just want to thank our daughter Katie for taking the time of her time to, get this going. This video being made. I'm going to try to talk in segments. Okay, I'm going to talk to you first of all, I'm going to tell you where I was born and when I was born. I was born in Allentown, Pennsylvania, Sacred Heart Hospital on January 30th, 1940. And I don't know what day of the week it was. My parents were Joe McGorry, and my mother was Edna McGorry. Her maiden name was Jesko. She is Polish. She was Polish, mostly Polish, and my father was mostly Irish, or could be Scottish. We're not sure, but that we won't go into a lot of detail on that because this is all about me. So I'm going to talk to you about my early and later and final education. I'm going to get that out of the way. Okay, not out of the way, but just try to. Being born in 1940, I started kindergarten at St. Catherine of Siena Elementary School in 1945 at kindergarten. I was very didn't really think of. I tried to. What was your first memory of going to school? My first memory of going to school was standing outside of this one room where my mother went in and to talk to the teacher, which were nuns at the time, because I was a late starter. I didn't start at the beginning of the school year because of my age. You're allowed to go early, depending on what month you were born, what year. So they wanted to put me in early, which would have been instead of waiting till I was 6 years old or 5.5 years old, they put me in this class of 1945. And I remember I can remember wearing shorts, standing out in the hallway there, and kind of just I wasn't happy. So they put me into this classroom finally, and I attended school at St. Catherine's from kindergarten up through 8th grade. Okay, graduated in 8th grade because it was elementary school, and back in those days, you had the nuns and priests were all part of the parish school that you went to attended. As you can tell, my parents were practicing Catholics, Catholic school, that was it. Nothing, boom, don't even talk about public school, which, I didn't know. Okay, go to Catholic school and, wear a shirt and a tie. I mean, it was almost like I was born with a shirt and a tie on. But anyway, that's my life. A uniform, basically, you had a type of uniform you had to wear. And education was very good, very strict. Discipline was, don't mess up. Back in those days, you look sideways, you got hit in the back of the head with a book or a stick or on your hands. I mean, tap, a little tap, which for you it wasn't a little tap. It hurt. And this was the nuns. They were dressed with all their dress was total. The habits they called them. They wore everything was hidden except their face. in their hands, and their hands were in a pocket in their habit, which they had down there, and I think they were doing push-ups with their hands to make them stronger if they needed to use them on us. Only kidding. But went through school there, elementary school at St. Catherine's, 8th grade, 1953. Went to 9th grade at Central Catholic High School, and I was not a very good student because I just didn't like school. I mean, I could learn, I had no problem, kind of had not a photographic mind, but a mind that could remember a lot of things. And some subjects of course, were like any of us, we liked, we didn't like. But high school was from 1953 through 1957. And in high school, I met new friends, of course, because of this high school. All the other parish schools the Catholic schools went to Central Catholic from the area there. And some of the friends that I associated with were, I became like immature. I was immature and kind of like a follower and just looking for, what can I get away with? And doing silly, dumb things like some of the remarks I'm making now, but just kind of to sometimes get attention. And I don't know children. I don't know people that, you say something and you do something. And one of the things I remember, discipline there with the priests. We had priests who taught us Bible and some other subjects, and they were pretty tough discipline-wise. Some of them, they had their own discipline. In other words, you had detentions, the regular detentions every day after school, from like 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock was an hour of detention. And I know that the nun was Sister Euphrida, and if you got in trouble that day you went and you got a detention, you had to serve it that day. And so at 3 o'clock you would walk into this hall, and there were a lot of desks there, and there were other criminals. I mean, there were other students with you, and you had to sit with your hands folded, looking straight ahead, and up there on the platform was Sister Euphrida. And you just sat there for 1 hour, no talking, no movement, no nothing. Make sure you go to the restroom maybe before if you knew, because you had detention, because you had to hold it. There was just no way. I think anyway, maybe I made that up. But, and that was your detention. Then you were dismissed. Now, some of the priests, they didn't give you a detention when they thought you needed to be disciplined. They had their own kind of discipline. And one of the disciplines was you went to their office after school. And they went, McGorry, here again, huh? And, well, let's see, what shall we do this time, McGorry? All right, got a piece of paper there and a pen or pencil? Make it a pencil, because you're going to need an eraser. And what I want you to do, McGorry, is write down 3,000, 3000, and sometimes they put it on the board. They had a board there, and subtracted 3 from it down to. They would make them down to 100 or sometimes down to 0, I think. I'm not too sure of that. But I do remember sitting there, okay, and taking 3,000 minus 3, 2,997 minus 3, 2,900. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be here. And anyway, and it was only an hour. So you had an hour but you better not, because one time I went from 3,000 to 2,000, and then skipped 1,000, went down to 1,000. And wouldn't you know it, God's in charge. he saw me cheat, and I had to start all over. And then what they do is, you're dismissed, but then you have to you have to finish it at home and give it to them the next day. So you had to take that paper home with you, and of course your eraser. But that was one form of discipline in high school, and I don't know why, but it seemed that my name was you called quite a bit. But that was, let me tell you, children, immaturity, man, and the friends that you have. Just be careful, you know. But there were some good friends too. I mean, nothing was. But this was my elementary, and this was my high school. I played some baseball in high school. I was short and fast. I mean, wasn't very tall, but I could run. And we didn't have track or anything. We just had the three sports: football, basketball, and baseball. And I tried out for football. Well, I went out. I wanted to be football because I liked football and I thought I was fast and blah. Anyway, my first day there, I got hit about 35 times, and I realized that this is all my body just refused to go out again the next day. And that was my football experience. Basketball, I went down, made a layup, thought I was going to be still on the team, and came back up the court dribbling, made another layup, and I thought, oh, good, I'm still qualified. And then I hear, McGorry, take a shower. What? That was it. That was my basketball. It was like, so what a rejection, But that's life. That's what you're going to find out in life sometimes, people. How are you going to handle rejection? Okay, so that was my basically elementary and high school experiences. And then, of course, I had to make a decision. High school came, graduation, and I graduated. I have a picture of me in a graduation outfit, and with my, quote, diploma. And so, like I was telling you about I think I mentioned about my father. He worked in retail, and he was a very busy man while I was in my elementary and high school life and while I was at home. And he, very education. He wanted all of us. There was three of us. I had an older sister, 2 years, and a younger brother, 5 years younger, and I was in the middle. And he was very education. He wanted to, get an education. And, let me tell you, I did not like school. It was no way I didn't want to go to school. But he said, he came to me after I graduated. I got a while I was growing up, I delivered papers for 6 years, and that was a key. That was one of the things that I did. I delivered the morning call in the morning, every morning, getting up at 5:30, going out and deliver these papers. And I can remember the number 72 papers had to go up the corner about a couple of blocks. That's where they dropped off the papers, and had my wire cutters cut the wire, open, pulled the wire out, took the cover off the papers there, and I sat for about 5-10 minutes and read the paper, and I had to look at the sports page and the headlines, and then I had to get moving. I had my bicycle. That was my best Christmas present, was my bicycle years ago. I mean, a little earlier, not years ago. Well, yeah, years ago then, but then, now. But it was a Columbia bicycle. I can tell you a quick story about it. I got the bicycle on Christmas, and I was so happy that I got this bicycle. I finally got, and I asked, it was snowing out, it was icy out, and Dad, can I just take it up the street hill and just come back with it? He said, I don't know. And he said, it's icy out, it's not good. And I said, oh, come on. He said, all right, be careful. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be careful, Dad. And I took it up to the top of Cedar Street, where we lived on Cedar Street. We lived in a row home. And we had a hill coming down past, not a big hill, but coming down past our house, Anyway, I go up there on the top of the street, Cedar Street there, and I turn down I'm gonna bring it down past the house, ride this bicycle, and I'm riding it, going down, and in there are black spots. I start hitting the brakes just to slow down now, and as I hit the brakes, shoo! I lost control of the bike. I went to the right, the bike went to the left, and here I am in the middle of this. It's daylight, and it's Christmas. There was no traffic, thank goodness. But there I am. I mean, the handlebars are turned the opposite way, and I'm over there with, oh man, body hurting a little bit. And I look around, and there's nobody's around. So I get up, and I go to the bike, and the handlebars are turned this way, and I go, man, what am I gonna do? This is a brand new bike. I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna get killed. You ever say that, Joe? I'm gonna get killed. My parents are gonna kill me. Anyway, I take the bike and I say, I'm gonna go and no one's looking. I get the bike and I get the handlebars back the best I could, and I go around to the back of the house. And we have a basement, and we have to get it. Like I said, we live in a real home. To get into the basement, you open the door to the basement to go down a couple of steps into the basement. So the only thing is that the neighbors are looking right at you too. I mean, because these homes are right. Anyway, I get it into the basement, and I just get it settled, and what are you doing down there, Joe? I just brought the bike, Dad, down to make sure, it's kind of, all right, be careful. Yeah. Okay, well, so anyway, get it in there. Anyway, I delivered papers from like 6th grade almost through senior year. My senior year, I think I stopped. I can't remember exactly. But on Sundays, had 125 papers. The papers were thick back then. And I had a wagon, okay, but when the weather was bad, which it was a number of times, or even when it was good, my dad would sometimes drive me, to get the papers and to kind of help deliver them, which was a blessing. So anyway, I did that, this during high school and part of elementary school. And then my dad came to me one day after I graduated. I had a job at a gas station. I was making $1 an hour, and I was working kind of part-time. It was kind of cool because, this gas station was a small business owner. The man who owned it, Mr. Heckenberger, he was a cool guy. He was, he says, okay, back then you had to, there was no self-service. You had to go out there and pump the gas, and you had to check the oil. Boy, you better check the oil or you get fired. You got to do all those two things, and gasoline back then was like 35 cents a gallon, something like that. And my friends would come by in their car, and give me 50 cents worth, and I go, yeah, okay, and I'd give them 75 cents worth, or something like that, And they all did it, but it was wrong. It's wrong. Don't be doing things like that. Anyway, you're not going to find gasoline at 75 cents a gallon anywhere, not unless you're in, Siberia, something like that. So anyway, I was, and then every once in a while I'd get the car. That was another thing. We only had one car. My dad was a Plymouth man, Plymouth. And I had my driver's license, but and once in a while I'd get the car or not, but to drive, to cruise around, beep beep, hey, where are we going now? So my dad comes to me this one day because he sees that it's graduated in June of '57. It's now end of July, and here's Dad coming to me saying, "You got 3 choices, son. I mean, want you to get an education. You got to do something. Look at that. I'll give you 3. I'm not sure exactly how he said it, but he said, go to college, um, get a full-time job, and if you're going to live here, pay rent, which, some of you people, I hope if you're living at home, you better be helping out around the house if you are, whatever it might be. Don't be, you know, milking your parents, and that's wrong. It's sin. You shouldn't be doing it. It's not good. Or he says, go in the service. He says, let me know, because I want you to, better yourself. And he did. He really did. My dad and I never really had a good relationship, but I mean, he was. I look back and I wish, oh man, the things that he's told me and said to do, he was right all the time, because I was just an immature, good, trying to make friends with everyone, or trying. I wasn't doing the right thing. So, but I didn't want to go to college. I just didn't want to have anything to do with school. So, and I didn't work in home. Living at home like that, and I had a younger brother who was a pain. At that age, 5 years, he used to follow me around at the time. He's a retired doctor now. I'm making this. He made a good living for himself. And my sister was 2 years older, and that's another story for another person. Anyway, no, she's okay. So anyway, I said to my dad, I think maybe I'll go in the service. And back then, I was only 17 years old at the time. So, think about that, 17. And he said, and they had to sign. Parents had to get, to get you in the service if you wanted to go full time. So I said, Dad, so I decided, I told him, I said, okay, all right. He said, anyway, I checked on the Marines. I was going to go in the Marines. The Marines, shave, haircut, big camouflage outfit, gun, I was going to, watching a lot of John Wayne movies and war movies. They were the big thing on the screen, Hollywood screen. And so I went to the Marine recruit. Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. Oh, yeah, man, all right. But I had to get my parents' permission. Well, I go to my dad, say, Dad, here's the papers. All you have to do is sign, and I can go and join the Marines. He looks at, I'm paraphrasing it again, but I can just see. When my dad would get mad or upset, his veins would really pop up, and then you knew, this isn't good. So anyway, they started to fight. I said, what's the matter? Why not? Dad, I want to join the Marines. And he was in World War II. He was in the Army, and he was in the Philippines, and he saw some of what World War II was. And he says, I'm not going to let you go. I'm not going to sign for you. You're going to have to wait till you're 18 or whatever you want to do that. But, oh man, he says, yeah, you just want to play war, and he says, I want you to get an education, he says. And he said, you have the Air Force, he said, check the Air Force out and see what they have, because they have good education in there. And they did, he was guiding me. He was trying to help me, He didn't kick me out of the house or anything like that. But once again, that one word pops up in my mind, immature, duh, You ever watch Seinfeld? You ever see George? He goes crazy when he comes in the room. He doesn't know what he's doing. He gets in trouble all the time. Anyway, I go, okay. So I go to the recruiter, which is in the post office on the second floor, and I go to the Air Force recruiter and tell the guy I want to, he says, oh yeah, and he signs, oh yeah, we want, yeah, good, yeah, sign. He fills out all the forms, and he's saying, yeah, it's good. He said, let's see, okay, and this was July, and he says, okay, oh, but okay, we can get you in October. I go, what? October, July, August. I said, because I didn't know. He said, yeah, because we're booked. We are, we have our limit right now till then. But we get you in, and you can have. And they had a great education. They did. The Air Force did. But October. So I said, okay, and I take all the forms and, get them ready, take them to my dad. And true story, I had a cousin who would, every time he'd tell an Irish joke, he'd always say, true story, Joe, true story. He was fun. His name was John Rogers. I just thought of him while I'm saying the true story. But yeah, he could tell them, and we would laugh. He came to our house in Ohio one time, and we started playing cards. We didn't even get the first hand done. We were laughing so much at the way he was telling the story. But maybe I'll talk about that later. True story. It is a true story. And this guy, this is one thing. Here's something you can learn from this guy, John Rogers. Okay, he did not drink. He was an Irishman who did not drink. I mean, and again, drinking is, stay away from it. It's wrong. It's not good. God gave us a body that and his image, and take care of yourself, okay? So anyway, I leave the Air Force recruiter, and I'm walking down the hall. And as I'm walking down the hall, they had all the military recruiting offices were on the second floor. I'm gonna leave now and go home with this Air Force information, and I just happen to look up at as I'm walking down, and I see Navy, and I hadn't even thought of the Navy, and I go, the Navy, and you know what I did? I had stopped, and guess where I stopped when I saw that sign, Navy sign? Right in front of the open door of the Navy recruiter. And the desk is at the far end of the room, and sitting at the desk, looking right out the hall, guess what? It's a recruiter. Hey, how you doing, son? You all right? What's wrong? What's going on? Huh? Oh, nothing. I was just looking. Come here. Oh, okay. Da, 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 da. I walk in, tell them the story that I told the Air Force recruiter. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. We have stuff there, and they did. I mean, but Navy, the water, I don't know nothing about water, Navy, and anyway, here, let me fill these out. Gives me papers. He says, you're 17, you got to get permission. Oh yeah, okay, but we get you in. In fact, he said. There's a company of all Pennsylvania recruits in the area, Philadelphia area, that in what do you say, August, this was July, the end of July, in September. He said September 15th, a big deal. It's going to be in Philadelphia. You're going to be sworn in by the Secretary of the Navy. Okay, and you go in all pencil. I said, well, that sounds pretty good, not too bad. So I take it home, and the Air Force is the one. I got the Navy one. I told Dad, and he says, Navy's all right. He said, they're okay. You want to go in the Navy? I said, yeah. And plus I can get. And then he's probably thinking in his mind, I can get rid of this son of mine here quicker than wait until October, for him to go in. So, anyway, I ended up signing to go into the Navy. And here we are, 1957. It's September. I'm in Philadelphia, okay? Gave my mother a hug, gave my father a hug, gave my brother, I just looked at him. I didn't give him a hug. Pain. And my sister, I don't think she was at college, I think. I can't remember saying see you later to her. And the nice thing about it was they all had smiles on their faces when I was leaving. And I thought, oh, that's such genuine love. I think it was. Anyway, no comment. So I go to Philadelphia, and there we are in a parade. I met these other guys from around the area, that were going to be in our company. And we marched in a parade. The band is playing, and what it was commemorating the Constitution in September, Constitution Day from 1778, when the Constitution was officially signed in September. So anyway, we stand up there, we still have all our civilian clothes on, but we were all there and like, hey guys, welcome, the Navy guys are, the secretaries come down and shakes your hand, and you feel pretty important. And there's a crowd because it was a parade, a big crowd, and on my honor, I do. So help me God. Congratulations, boys. You're now members of the United States Navy. Wow, that's important. And then it got quiet. It wasn't quiet, but for us it did, because we stood there like, wow, we're in the Navy. All of a sudden, these guys in Navy uniforms come around, a couple of them, and they said, all right, attention, stand at attention. What are you doing? What? Yeah, okay. You don't have a name. You're not a citizen anymore. You're part of the Navy. You're part of what we represent, and we're going to show you what it is to become a sailor in the U.S. Navy. Hey, stand at attention, blah, blah, blah. And they start yelling at you. And what? Move it. And they stay together. Don't go and put, I can't say, hey. Some are crying. I wasn't. Anyway, they march us out of there, and we're getting on a train. Where we go? I mean, there was a recruiting nearby for recruiters in Maryland, and people thought, well, that's probably where we're going to go, Bainbridge, Maryland, which was only like an hour away from where we were in Philly. No, we were going to Great Lakes, Illinois. Whoa, Great Lakes, Illinois. Okay, and we got on a train. All right, you lay there. Sit down. Don't want to leave now. You stay in this. Car, and we'll get you. Blah. So, and it was an overnight trip. So we're all in our civvy clothes yet, And finally, anyway, we get there. We make the trip. We get to Great Lakes, Illinois. Now, if you ever have to go to Great Lakes, Illinois, don't go. No, you go. Anyway, bad winters, windy. I mean, talk about weather. This is whether I should go or whether just let me die. But anyway, we get to Great Lakes. Off the train. Hey, move it. Hey, yeah, okay. And they take you into this big warehouse, and you're all kind of staying in there. Okay, stay in line. And this time they're not calling you by name; they're calling you other names, which, you don't want. I know if anyone's 10 years old or younger, don't listen. No, I won't give the name, but what they call you. So anyway, we stand there, and they come around. They give you a box, an empty box. They're all the same boxes, and it's an empty box. And they put it down on the ground in front of you. Stand at attention behind it. Oh, what's he doing? All right, you blah bird, and giving you a name. He says, start taking those clothes off now, everything. Empty those pockets. What? And that's what we had to do. True story, like Uncle John with our cousin John. This is a true story. Anyway, take off all of our clothes, everything in our pockets. They have envelopes for, any money, anything, you know. Uh, they put there, but I believe that the stuff that you took out of your pockets, that you were able to take some of it, like some money or something, I think. But anyway, there we were. We were like, the only thing that was covering any part of us, okay, was part of the box. If you lifted it up to hand it, couldn't see. But anyway, we took all the clothes. Then we had to fold them, fold the box, and then they came around and they collected the box. They were shipping it back home. All our clothes was being shipped home. They didn't have a FedEx, or I don't know, maybe they did, but it went the El Stinko route. So then we had to get in line with no clothes on, and they started giving us our clothes. What we were gonna wear, and they just you're standing there like this, and they put all their clothes there, and then we walked back to where we were, and then I'm not too sure of this, but eventually we did get dressed, thank goodness, because embarrassing for some of the guys, but anyway, we got dressed and got our uniforms on, and that began my career in the Navy. 4 years, almost 4.5 years. Okay, I got sworn in September 15th, I think it was, and got out in January of 61. So 4 years in the Navy. Okay, boot camp, schooling, went to radar school, all right, electronic school it was called then, and then radar school, and and that's what I asked for, radar school, and got it. Then shipped from Great Lakes down to Norfolk, Virginia, went to the school there, radar school, and one of the things that I got, I guess I should tell you. I'll tell you. I'll make it this way. I got out of boot camp, and I had 10 days leave. I hope I'm right with to go home, or go 10 days leave, and then to go to Norfolk, Virginia, to finish. I went to Norfolk, Virginia first. Finished the radar school. Okay. And then I got 10 days leave to go home. Okay, that's neither here nor there. It's all right, because like I said, I'm immature. I don't know what's going on anyway, as long as I just follow the crowd, So I go home, and this is a true story. And it was late at night when I got a ride. I hitchhiked because I got off at the airport in, it wasn't Philly, I think Reading, Pennsylvania. And then I hitchhiked to Allentown, but it's late at night. Hitchhiking back then, and you can't do it nowadays. That's too bad, because man, hitchhiking was, I don't know how many times I did hitchhike. I got a couple of stories for the hitchhiking stories too, but I know half of you are probably asleep. Okay, so I get home. I finally get home, and it's like 2 a.m, midnight, 2 a.m, and the street's quiet and everything. And so I didn't want to wake anyone up, so I thought, let me see. Remember how I told you how I got my bicycle into the garage? Usually that door was unlocked. So I went to the back of the house and the door was unlocked. So I sneak into the basement, and I go upstairs. It's all quiet. Everyone's in bed sleeping. Everyone is home. Mom, Dad, my brother, and my sister are home. And I get into my room. My brother's sleeping, and I get into bed. Okay. I'm sound asleep in the morning. I'm sound asleep, and all of a sudden, my sister's voice. Joey's home! Oh, Joey's home! Hey, Joey! And I can't remember exactly how it goes, but she's like, oh, she's shaking. Joey's home. You know what? And Joey, what? What is that? And what I had, children, I got a tattoo. Talk about, whoa, battle of the tattoo. Anyway, is that real? That's not real, is it? Wait, look. Dad, Mom, Joe, Jimmy's laying in bed there. Jimmy tells me this story.
Dennis.
Or Dennis. Yeah, Dennis. Hey, Jimmy. Dennis is laying, he's what am I, 17 yet still? He's 12. He's 12. And he remembers that like it just happened yesterday. Because my bedroom became a den of iniquity. Oh, tattoo! And they're trying to, and my sister's getting a rag and she's trying to wipe it off, and all. Like, oh my gosh. And I had forgotten about that. I mean, I was going to hide it probably. I wasn't going to say it because I never told anyone. Anyway, that morning was a very chaotic and a very verbal, oh my gosh, the moment, and disappointed. My dad is, and my mother couldn't believe it. My sister's screaming, and my brother, he's laughing, So anyway, that I had to get that out because that was kind of like a memorable moment or whatever. So anyway, I get 10 days leave or something. Then I go back to, I had my orders. I got out of radar school. I had orders to go aboard a ship in Norfolk. It was called the Roberts. I can't think of it. 747 was the name of this ship. And that was my first tour of duty on a destroyer. We were destroyers. These ships were destroyers, smaller ships, but anyway, life on I threw up when I first got aboard ship. And, I had to go. We went out to sea, and I was health. I couldn't blame the food. Couldn't blame anything. Except that the ship moved. And the only thing you have is your sea bag, and they give you a little compartment to put everything in. All your clothes, your whole life is in this compartment. Your whole life, And I got sick. I couldn't get up there we were supposed to go. I think I got sick I made it to the radar room, and that's where I got sick. And I laid like overnight in the radar room. There was only 2 other radarmen and myself. That's how small the ship was, for the 2 permanent sailors. They both were from New England. Or no, New York, Massachusetts, and then me, Pennsylvania. But they had been aboard the ship. So they had to put up with me for a couple of years. I think I was a year and a half aboard that ship. And we went out, blah, blah, did Navy stuff. Then I got transferred to this ship that was going overseas. That was a sad thing for me, because as far as at that time of my life, because I got transferred to a larger destroyer which was called the Miles C. Fox. And this was a ship, a destroyer that was heading out for Europe. It was going to be gone for 6 months tour. And I was kind of excited about it. I mean, wow, you know. And I get my orders, and the ship is in Rhode Island. It's in Newport, Rhode Island. And I go to Newport, Rhode Island, and get the orders, and get aboard ship. And like the next day or the second day, they said, McGorry. In fact, when I got there that first day, the officer in charge of our unit, you know, there were more radarmen because this was a bigger. This was a regular destroyer. The other ship I was on was a smaller one. Anyway, he said, we don't need more radarmen. We're already booked with radarmen. I go, what do you mean already booked, you know? And he said, well, I don't know. He said, we'll see. So the next day they were preparing to get ready to go overseas. And that day, that was like the second day, before anyone went overseas, they had to get these shots, okay, to prevent, you know, to help this military, to help you. But they were mandatory shots, and here I am. Next thing I'm standing in line with all these other guys, and hey, move it, and bam, as you're walking, and you walk by the line, and they shot you in one arm, you got shot, the other arm, you got a shot. And you talk about COVID, let me tell you something. This was, you know, you didn't have any choice either, just like some of you would. Be careful with the COVID, with all that pandemic stuff too, you know. I hope you don't get cut off. So anyway, I took all the shots, and a couple of days go by, you know, I don't hear anything. You know, I'm aboard this ship and getting ready to go overseas, and next thing, a couple of days go by, a guy comes up with an envelope and says, here are your transfer papers, you're being transferred. We don't need you aboard the ship. I tried to call a lawyer, but I can't call a lawyer. You don't even have a name anymore. But so I got transferred to the base on Newport, Rhode Island, the base. They had transfer papers for me to go to the base, where the ship was at. So I leave the ship, and I go to the office where if you're being transferred to the base with the my new orders. And my new orders, this is a military. I'm serving the military. My new orders were to go to the officers club and help to be in charge of the sailboats. Can you believe that? The sailboats. Me, a radarman. So, okay, I go to see it. They take me down to a shed where there's like 4 bunk beds, and one of them's empty, and that's going to be mine. And my responsibility, the sailboats, they could have been undercover. I don't know, but it wasn't. My responsibility was to clean the sailboats along with these other 3 guys and have them ready for the weekend so the, quote, officers could participate in sailboat races. That's what, and one of the hardest things at that one moment was I'm out there up by the sailboats, where they're in the water there, and this one day, only out there maybe a few days with this new job, with this, these new orders. I look up, and there goes the Miles C. Fox, slowly leaving the harbor. Ho!
Wait for me.
Can you believe that? I mean, talk about, gut check. It's leaving the harbor, going out for 6 months of, over to Europe. Phew. Not easy. I now have
break?
another.
Do you need a break?
Need a drink.
But that's a true story.
So sad.
And my job was on the weekends when all these officers would come. The one sailboat that wasn't used by the officers was used by us, and you had, I think 2 of us went out at a time. There was like 4, but to go out with the sailboats to go to the starting line, and as they lined up ready, they come around to fire the cannon. So I fired a weapon. This weapon could have, you had to be accurate to get the sailboats going for this major competition. And then after we fired the cannon to get them started, we had to go to a certain position where we had to watch them to make sure they went all the way around so they weren't cheating and come around and then pick the winner or